All right, hello. I'm doing my marketing research report on the Maybelline New York's Instant Age Rewind Concealer. So for this project, I decided to choose Maybelline because I thought I was like really their target audience. I'm a 20-year-old female in college who doesn't want to spend so much money on makeup, and I feel as though this is like who they really target their makeup towards. So target audience for Maybelline was determined by the customer reviews that we had collected for the social media listening. And these came from different websites, from reviews left behind on Amazon and Ulta and even Maybelline's own website. And I determined that the target audience was mostly women who their age ranges from teenager to middle-aged adult, anywhere from 14 to 45 years old, I believe, and individuals that come from all backgrounds. It really didn't matter where they came from, what they looked like. They were targeting to everyone, and individuals who came from more lower class to middle class backgrounds because their makeup is so inexpensive that it's not too much money, and it's easily accessible as well. We made two different consumer personas. This is Delora Thompson. She is the busy parent. So we made her age range from 35 to 44 years old. And I believe that she is a mom who still wants to look good. So she uses the Instant Age Rewind Concealer because it's so efficient, because it has the sponge tip applicator. So it's easy to just put on the makeup, apply the concealer, and blend it out with the sponge that is readily available to them. They don't have to grab another brush and take the time to blend it out. You can do it all in one with the Instant Age Rewind concealer. And then there is also Macy Keaton. She's the broke college student, so I based her really off of me here. Age is from 18 to 24 years old. And so I believe that you use makeup so much when you're in college, you're constantly going out, even if it's just to hang out with some friends. You don't have to be going to a party or anything. It's just sometimes you want to wear makeup to feel good, feel better, look good. So you want to use more inexpensive drugstore makeup such as Elf or Maybelline, and because it is just easier to access it, you can go to CVS, you can go to Target, as well as it's not as expensive. It won't break the bank for them. So they're still able to look good while being in college and not having to pay $45 for a concealer. So for the qualitative data, as I said earlier, we have the 100 mentions from the social media listening. These were analyzed for any significant qualitative characteristics. And then I also used Amazon for the most frequent source of mentions. Like I said earlier, I used mostly reviews. I didn't find much on Twitter or Facebook about really much for Maybelline other than like, hey, I use Maybelline for my concealer. So, or I use Maybelline for my powder or something like that. It wasn't really talking about any of the products, if they even enjoyed the products. So I didn't feel as though it was worth collecting that data. So I went to reviews from Amazon or Ulta or the Maybelline website itself, places that would purchase, you could go online to purchase the concealer. Overall, I feel like most people really enjoyed this product. I had 45 mentions be positive, 30 of them were negative, and 25 were neutral. The way that I determined the neutral was if they kind of put a compliment to the product as well as like maybe a negative setback for them. So I really liked the formula of the product, but maybe the packaging wasn't my favorite. So I kind of made that as a neutral because it wasn't fully positive, but it wasn't fully negative. So that's what I determined there. And from the social media listening, there was 7 purchasing criteria that I've developed, and that was the price, brand loyalty, packaging, blendability, accessibility, formula, and shade range. For quantitative data, that's when we made the surveys. So we used the Priority Bridge software to make the surveys that were based off the purchasing criteria that was just developed. This generated a percent magnitude of importance score for each. The survey was distributed through mostly private messaging and public posting. So I had sent out a message to big group chats of people. I have a lot of group chats on GroupMe for different classes that I'm currently taking, as well as a group chat in Slack for my job. I work for the WVU campus recreation. So I had over 100 people in that one Slack group chat, and I sent it to them, asking them to take my survey. And I also posted on my Instagram story as well as my Snapchat story with the survey link, asking people to take my survey. And I didn't get much of a response, which was quite sad. So I went to convenience sampling, where I just texted the survey to most of my friends and family, and that's why I was only able to conduct 19 responses. The survey results indicated that more than 70% of the purchasing decision was influenced by formula, blendability, accessibility, and shade range. So for my conclusions and recommendations, my conclusions was kind of hard for me to make because I only received 19 responses to my survey, but I noticed that all of the purchasing criteria that were mentioned, every consumer felt like it was still important. None of them received like 0% or anything. It was still important, all of them for them. It was just some were more important. Some criteria was more important than others. So one of the recommendations that I had presented was perfecting the blendability of the product, because blendability was, I believe, the second most important to the consumers who had taken the survey. It was one of the top criteria. So when I was doing the social media listening, I noticed that it was consistently coming up like blendability is the most important. They weren't so worried about the packaging or the price, as long as the formula was easily able to blend into their skin and they looked good at the end, they enjoyed the product. So if we could just perfect the blendability, it would probably lead to higher sales. And I also believed that one of the main issues was in the formula being so hydrating. We promote it as hydrating, which is important to note, but many people were still hearing good reviews about the concealer, so they decided to purchase it. But because they have a certain skin type, it was hard for them to use the concealer because it just didn't go well with an oilier skin. So making a more matte formula for the consumers would be possibly a good idea to help deal with that issue for some consumers. And then a second recommendation was to further the shade range for the concealer. Fenty Beauty coming into the makeup world with instantly 40 shades of foundation, like that was their first drop for their brand. So having that come in like hard hitting, it's makes other brands look inferior, in my opinion, because it's so important to be inclusive. And skin type comes in so many different shades, and limiting it to only 18 available shades, where only 6 of them would be considered for darker complexions, is kind of hard for us. I feel as though if we were to further the shade range, we can get more people to come and purchase our product. Considering that only even like 2 of these concealers shades that we have is a neutralizer and a brightener, it's not technically a shade like to cover and conceal. So I feel as though if we were to further the shade range, it would bring back way more sales and a larger audience we can reach. And then this is my references page. Thank you for listening and have a good day.